So it is good to be back in the States. Donna and I have been in Guatemala we've been gone for almost 2 weeks total, with a ministry to Guatemalan pastors in the mountainous region. All of Guatemala is mountainous. In the mountains of Jalapa, Guatemala. And this year was the 10th anniversary of this ministry. Got a t-shirt to prove it and a hat to prove it that they made for us. Guys, if you've never been, or those of you that have been in other parts of the world to see what God is doing in other parts of the world, as it turns out, God is pretty busy doing some pretty amazing things around the world. As we saw in the Prayercast video, aren't they just amazing? Of all the mess that men have made of this world just in 2024, and Jesus, the Lamb of God, the hope of the world, is the answer to all of it, right? The answer to all of it. We're going to be probably running our slides. If Tom discerns that nobody's hearing a word that we're saying, then he will cut you off. But just a smattering of things that we're able to do. So this ministry that we've been blessed to be a part of began 10 years ago. Our good friend Grady and Sandy Strop, who've been missionaries for the last 20 plus years all over the world. They've been to China 100 times plus. I've been to Russia a whole lot. That's getting real tough now. All over Southeast Asia, Central America, South America. And they just have got a heart. Grady pastored for 25 years and just really had a heart for missions, but specifically for missionaries and indigenous pastors. And as he traveled around the world, he would see pastors that are just wore out, duking it out best they know how. And he had developed his whole life mission is Sabbath and Sabbath rest. And he's taken this message all over the world that you gotta take a day off. In Southeast Asia, China in particular, they're like, dude, we got 1 billion people to reach. We can't take a day off. And what they were seeing all over the world, in Southeast Asia, Central America, South America, all over the United States, was the same thing. We just got too much to do. We're trying to save the world here. We can't afford any downtime. And what he was seeing was that they were burning out. Pastors' wives hated the church. Pastors' kids hated the church because husband was married to the church. Kids, dad's more of a dad to the church than he is to us. And we just see this. They saw this. So they took this message to the mountains of Jalapa, Guatemala, 10 years ago. And they received it well. 7 years ago, Grady couldn't make the trip. Grady passed it off to our son Sean and his wife Beth, who, crazy story, but our son is Grady's pastor now. How bizarre is that? And passed that off to them, and then in 2018, 7 years ago, Grady couldn't make it. Sean's like, Dad, you want to come take Grady's place in teaching? And I've gone every year since doing that. We just finished a study of 1 Thessalonians, and I couldn't help but think about 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, where Paul said, believers, friends at Thessalonica, we have been trying to get to you, but we just can't get to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to send our fellow laborer in the work of God, Timothy. We're going to send him. So like Grady's the Paul, I'm the Timothy. And going so you can encourage them, and been doing that. What a joy that is. So here's the small world picture. Crossroads Church, which has adopted this area of this section of 25 churches in the mountains of Jalapa, and they raise lots of funds to build churches, to build houses, to build schools. The previous pastor for the last 30 years, as of 10 years ago, Dan Thompson. Dan was a good friend of mine. Dan is the one that told me about Legacy Church in Junction City, Kansas. He said, Tom, we got to have lunch. This is spring of 2008, and he'd been coming down here every week ministering, and he said, Tom, there's a church in Junction City, Kansas, looking for a pastor. And so we came down June 8th, 2008. A few years later, I'm in New Orleans on a bus, heading to a parade route during Mardi Gras, and I get a phone call from Dan's son-in-law who was just in shock. Tom, I didn't know who else to call. Dan and Annette have been in a car accident, and Dan didn't make it. And that was a surreal moment. Grady, who had taken up residence at Crossroads Church at that time, kind of led the elders and the whole church through a transition time for 2 years. And then Grady said, how about Sean Swihart? Let's call him out of Chicago to Crossroads Church to pastor. How crazy is all that? And then here, this whole thing has come full circle, and I get to have nothing to do with planning. I just do what I'm told. And our son calls the shots. And what a joy it has been for the last 8 years to pour into pastors in Guatemala. Again, if you've never been around the world to see what God's life-changing, absolutely life-changing every year. It just does something to you to get out of your familiar context and get into a whole nother language, a whole nother cultural context. Warm weather doesn't hurt. We've gone different times of the year. The January trip, it's hard to get out and hard to get back, but it sure is nice when you're there. So it's really a ministry of encouragement. Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, Paul says, bear one another's burdens and therefore fulfill the law of Christ. Again, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11, encourage one another and build one another up, even as you are doing. This whole thing of sabbatical rest that Grady took is taken all over the world. This group of 25 churches, very, very hard place. Very, very hard place. Many of these villages have no running water. Some of them have no electricity whatsoever. Very, very, no evangelical work in any of these villages. No shortage of witchcraft. All kind of spiritual darkness going on. It is a hard, hard work. And nowhere else in the world has Grady's message, and now our message, of you gotta take a break or you're just going to burn yourself out and you're going to be no good. Your marriage is going to fall apart. Your family's going to be in disarray, and they're going to shovel you off to the side, and somebody else is going to come in. Same thing's going to happen. Nobody on planet Earth, according to our good friend Grady Strop, nowhere on planet Earth has embraced this message of Sabbath rest like these guys in Guatemala. And I shared that with them again in one of my small groups, and they found it hard to believe. But now we show up and we say, are you? And they know exactly. Yeah, we're trying. We ask them, how many sermons a week do you give? 8 to 10. So what does your week look like? Well, Fernando, I made a picture of Fernando here. He's the guy, dark hair, dark eyes. He said, well, Monday is women's ministry, message, meeting, but everybody comes. Tuesday, it's men's ministry, but everybody comes. Wednesday is youth ministry. And you know, the door in these villages, the doors of the church open and the kids start flocking in, women start flocking in, ultimately the men it's just what's going on and guys, you need to care for yourselves. And that has been really the heart of our ministry. This whole message of Sabbath, message of what a marriage looks like. I mean, they've got this construct. We don't teach theology. We let their denominational system do that. But we do teach a lot on marriage. I taught a couple of breakout groups on marriage this year. And it's the first few years that I went, and those 3 years before, these folks would, so what we do is we have a 3-day retreat. We go to villages and see them and all that, but we have a 3-day retreat, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And when I first started coming, they would come dragging in, like, what is this all about? And the wives would come in super heavy, super burdened. And now, fast forward to today, these folks come dancing into this thing. They can't wait to get there. They know what it is that we're going to do. They are just doing a great, great work of taking the gospel in the hard places of the world. And they're mountainous regions, and they don't get much of a break. They get very little relief, very little fellowship, and that is kind of our target. And you know what they find? And they'll tell us this, it's consistency. You guys come year after year after year. Sean and Beth sometimes go twice a year. And that's gained our trust. Missionaries will tell you. Indigenous pastors will tell you. We are so thankful when the West brings a team to do a building project, a medical clinic, to do a vacation Bible school for the kids or something. They so appreciate that. But they have come and everywhere around the world. They've kind of realized you're going to be here one time and that's it. We're never going to see you again. The fact that Crossroads Church goes year after year after year, they've embraced it. Their people have taken each of these pastors and adopted them, and they'll provide for their needs, and it's just a beautiful thing, and they see that, and they'll tell you that speaks volumes to us. A couple of new faces that we met this year. One, Johnny. Well, he's from the city. Let me say, some of these folks are from the city, and they are familiar with comforts, running water, electricity, things we take for granted, and have just committed to being a missionary up in these, to their own people, but up in these mountains. And some of them are from this mountainous area, and so they come from different backgrounds. Johnny came from the city. He knows some English. He's even helped others learn a little bit of English. And we went, he is in a tough village. And we met him, and he said, my name is Jonathan, but you can call me Johnny. Game over at that point. It's every time he walks in the room, Johnny! Hey! And he didn't know what to do with us. He thought we were bonkers. He had the time of his life. Another first-time guy, his name is Fidel, speaks no English, 68 years old. One gray-haired guy you're going to see in some of these pictures. And he has been in ministry for 50 years. He's been dealt with kind of wrongly here recently. Right now he's out of ministry, and he was invited to come. He was a sectional leader, a regional leader in the churches there. And he came, and I noticed he was watching me. He was watching us. Like, what are you guys doing here? What is the message you're bringing? After the first day, we were best friends, and he absolutely appreciated what we were doing, what we were bringing. Said, what's your name? Fidel Castro. And he smiled like, that's how you're going to remember my name. I'm never going to forget Fidel's name. This year, we were going to, flight left out on Monday, January 6th from Omaha. It's typically what we do, so we'll drive up to Lincoln on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, get up bright and early Monday morning and fly out. This year, Thursday, we were getting these forecasts that we're going to have 8 to 12 inches of snow. I think they lied about that. And we thought, yeah, that's not going to happen. This never happened. We've never seen that happen. I don't think we've ever seen more than 4, maybe 6 inches. 17 years we've been here. And as time rolls on, it's like, no, this thing's going to hit. It's going to be a foot of snow with ice underneath it. And we thought, we're still going to be fine. Could be a little dicey leaving on Sunday afternoon. Within minutes, it's like, we need to get out of town. I felt guilty. We left late morning Friday, and it's a good thing we did, because that thing was right behind us, and y'all Saturday, y'all got creamed by that thing. And so I'm like, oh, I guess we're going to have to cancel church. Everybody canceled church. All my hombres in town are like, nah, we're having church. None of them had church. And so we get up 2 o'clock Monday morning, flying out of Omaha at 6. They didn't get any. Lincoln, Omaha hardly got any snow at all. How crazy is that? And so we met at Crossroads Church at 2:30. We're going to leave by 3, get to Omaha at 4, and be good and early for a 6 o'clock flight. 2:30 Monday morning, we get notices that your flight's been canceled. What's going to happen here? Apparently, crews in D.C. got held up by weather, so they didn't get to the Omaha airport. There was a way of getting out of Omaha to Guatemala City on Monday. It would take us from Omaha to San Francisco to Houston to Guatemala City, and we'd get there at 11 o'clock at night. We thought, now what else you got? And so the same flight, Tuesday morning. So we missed a day. Really didn't throw us off. We got into Guatemala City Airport, only airport in the country, and headed straight to Cerro Alto. Cerro Alto is this beautiful, right there, lodge, retreat, Gustavo calls it a hotel, in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere, amazing man, who's seen amazing change. You've probably heard stories about him. And we stayed there first couple nights, and we went then to the city dump in Jalapa. Several pictures of the dump. And a man by the name of Pastor Elihu, just mover and shaker, pastors of church in Jalapa. He just had a heart for these people in the dump. And he said the government doesn't care about them. The churches don't do anything. I don't know why. Jalapa's a city of pretty good size. I don't know why the churches don't do anything, but we're going to do something. So there are 54 families that live in this dump. 54 families. And they said, we're going to build a house for every one of these families. They built 54 of those corrugated tin, 8 by 10, 8 by 12 homes. They have 2 rooms, a little kitchen, a little bedroom. And then they thought, that's not good enough. We're going to build a church right next door to the dump. So they'll have a place to worship. And then we're going to build a schoolroom in that church. And then we're going to build, and Crossroads helped make all this possible. We're going to make a medical clinic and have a nurse come 3 times a week in the church. The church is called Arca de Noé, or Noah's Ark. I got tired of calling it the dump church. That just doesn't sound right. The Ark of Noah, or Noah's Ark Church. And they feed, thanks to donations from the States, they feed these people, the kids especially, 1 meal 5 times a week. And we had the privilege of, again this year, in the last couple of years, of being a part of feeding their lunch. That's the only meal most of them get all week. It's a bowl with a chunk of chicken and some broth and noodles and a tortilla and a glass of orange juice or whatever they have. Some of them will bring like a Walmart bag, and if they don't finish what they have, they'll dump it in the bag and take it home. It's the only food that they have. And we, again, had the privilege of, and Mama Dee was just all over it, and she's having fun with kids, and they're all, and just, it's like, what can we're not doing much, what are we doing? Some might say, well, you're just paying a nod to their plight, but what we're doing is saying, hey, we don't have much to offer, stickers, candy, some food, but we care about you, and we just want to stop and say, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? We care about you. This girl is probably 5 years old, at lunch, the dump folks, and we started locking eyes. She, I guess she's thinking, wow, you're old. And we're locking eyes, and I look over at her one time, and she does this to me. It was over. And so from across the room, I'd give her a little, and I think I got a shot there with me and her. And it just, people have difficult lives. You know what? People around the world have difficult lives. People here in the States have difficult lives. People need someone to say, hey, I just want to know how you're doing. I care about you. You doing okay? Right? People need to be encouraged. Could talk all day about that. Then we visited some of the churches. We had opportunity to drive around to some of the different villages and meet with some of the folks. We went to Elihu's house, beautiful home. He's got beautiful churches. He's got. He's a leader within the church movement there. Went to my first church. It's way up, doesn't have running water. They've devised this thing on the roof to try and capture rainwater when it rains, just so, because you got to walk a mile down the mountain with 5-gallon buckets, fill them up, bring them back up the mountain, then you got to purify them some kind of way. Whole different life. We went to Oleta's and the church there, and her little baby, and she was pregnant last year when we were there. Saw Eric's place, but Eric wasn't home. He was off with Sam. And we went to Johnny's place. We prayed for him, loved on him, checked out how you're doing, what are some of the things you're working on. All of them are either building onto their church or building onto their home, or they're trying to do something in their village. And then the retreat came, and me and Sean and Beth all taught big group sessions, preached a message, and we all did breakout sessions. I did, again, a couple breakout sessions on marriage. Pretty interesting. Josue, who Sharon really took to. I don't know if you remember Josue, the one who broke his, I met him when he was 19 years old. They were building a church in this village. He said, I'm going to go there. He's a single guy, 19 years old. He's got a 6x8 concrete little room with no door in it. And he was sleeping on a dozen bags of concrete. While they were building the house, the village people were throwing rocks at him, and witch doctor was giving him fits, and all of that's going on. And the next year he broke his leg. If you've been around a while, you remember that. He's now married, got a young'un. Anyway, in our breakout session, I'm telling him about this guy who talks about the crazy cycle in marriage where he won't love her until she respects him, and she won't respect him until he loves her, right? That crazy cycle. I'm saying there's a guy that teaches that, and I'm explaining all that. And Josue says, amor y respeto. And he's going faster than my translator could even keep up. He's talking about love and respect. And like, I read the book, and he's explaining it to all the folks in the group about, man, this is just so good. And anyway, it was, I recommend love and respect to couples all the time, and to hear Josue just going off about amor y respeto and this crazy cycle, and it was just a pretty precious moment. I'm thinking just yesterday, he was a 19-year-old thinking, what in the world am I doing here? And his ministry's going great. Thought through, even wrote down this morning, the number of folks in this section, or some of them have moved out, but we still invite them back to the retreat, that were single and now married, and half of them have kids. Danny, Elias, Josue, Ugo, Abner, Ali, Jenny, Jonathan, and it's been a delight to watch these folks grow in the Lord and to be able to just encourage them a little bit. They got some much needed rest, played some crazy games. We introduced them to wiffle ball. They didn't know anything about baseball. A couple of them have watched baseball on television. Do you know baseball's got a whole lot of weird rules? And you're trying to teach a whole group of people how to play baseball. Well, first base, you can run past it. You don't have to stay on it. But second and third base, you've got to stay on it, or you can be tagged out. And then home plate, you can run past. And they're like, so we made it real simple. and it was super fun. The next night, somebody had the bright idea to suggest, how about we play soccer? The place erupted. And all the guys want to play soccer. We're going to find a soccer ball, and a bunch of guys disappeared. And we're like, where'd they go? Because a lot of them are like, no, we got a motel room. We're going to go hang out and chill, and many of them did. They start coming back, and they'd gone out either to their car or their motorcycle or just their bag in their room, and they got cleats on and they're in their soccer gear, and they're like ready to play. These dudes know what to do with a ball in their feet. And it was just a hoot. And then our big old lanky dudes, gringos, didn't fare well. But come to find out, it's not cool for pastors to play soccer in Guatemala. It's just not becoming of a pastor. We're like, what a fantastic outreach. Once a week, Pastor so-and-so goes out to the field. Now, some of these villages, if you let a ball go, you'll never see it again, ever. But a lot of them have a flat spot where they'd need a fence. But what a cool outreach to go once a week for an hour and just play soccer and have all the kids come and just play soccer for an hour and say, hey, give a little devotional. Hey, kids, we got church service tonight. Why don't you, but they don't see it that way. It's not proper for a pastor to put on shorts and go play soccer. I did tell them on my farewell address, I said, guys, I promise you, I'm going to take these gringos back home and I'm going to teach them how to play soccer. And next year, look out. They laughed. We'll see how that works. One of the pastors, I'll kind of close with this. One of the pastors, born and raised in the mountains, pastoring now in the mountains, said, told one of our team members, I never ever thought I would ever be able to stay in a hotel. That's worth the price of admission right there. Put them up in a hotel for 3 days and enjoy all the amenities. What a blessing. These folks are doing gospel work in a very, very, very difficult place. And what a joy it is just to come alongside them and to encourage them a little bit. Keep going. We care about you. Here's some tips that might be helpful to you or not. Here you go. And then the last day and a half, we always spend our last day or more in Antigua. That is the tourist place in the country of Guatemala, and we just have a fun time there and probably some shots about that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Donna, and she can share some thoughts with you.
I hadn't thought about what thoughts I wanted to share with you, except for one. But as I look at the video as it's going, I too wondered about, when we go, what is it that we really provide? The things that we took. Boy, they just love those things, and we appreciate the suitcases and the books and the toothbrushes and the toothpaste and all the candies and the stickers and all that kind of stuff. We appreciate all of those things, but they're just trinkets and they're just small things, but they do mean a lot to them. But what we take is our heart, and what we take is our love and affection, and being able to pour into their lives is incredible. And you think you're not doing anything, and then you come back the next time, and like Tom said, they've changed over the years as they come, and they're excited, and they want to see you, and they want to do more, and everybody when you walk in, they come running and they hug on your neck and they tell you that they love you, and your heart just goes, it just does. One of the things I really wanted to talk about was Elihu's ministry here, and Elihu is, I think there's a picture of him. That's him with his hand on his forehead there. That's Eliu. And there's a picture of a gentleman with 3 children, Guatemalan gentleman, and those are his 3 sons. And I don't remember the timeline, but a couple years ago, Eliu met this man on the streets of Jalapa, and he was alcoholic, drugs, left his family, left his wife. And a lot of times when you leave your wife, you're the man, and it's you that's been bringing in any income. If you have an income, you're the one that's bringing it in. So he's left his wife, he left his sons. He's a mess. He's on the street. He's not eating. He's just in terrible, terrible, awful shape. And he met Eliu, and Eliu ministered to him and taught him and encouraged him, and he came to know the Lord. And when we met him, he and his 3 boys were at Eliu's church painting the walls of the church. He was back with his family. He's back with his wife. He's back with his children. And that's what the ministry is all about. It's restoring lives that are broken, and restoring families. Our time at Arc de Noé is always wonderful. The kids are always excited to see you. The parents are a little bit, well, we don't see the men, but the women that we do see are, they're a little bit standoffish and stuff. But as they watch you and interact with their children and what have you, then they lighten up a little bit. I will say, though, we did see one gentleman there that Eliu and the people that have been there the most in at the dump hardly recognize, because he got his life right. He was also an alcoholic and a drug addict and living in the dump and not supporting and not taking care of anybody or anything except for himself. And they basically say they don't recognize him anymore because he's serving the Lord, and his life has been, now he still lives there, but he's serving the Lord, and he's doing what God has called him to do there. So that's kind of cool. But just ministering to kids. And when we're in the dump, some of the pictures you'll see like corrugated walls. Those are their houses, and they're about this big, maybe. And I was invited into one that wasn't made out of corrugated steel. It was made out of plastic pieces of whatever they could find and put together. And the residents were 4 little boys with no parents. I think Alexander was the oldest, I think. And he was, I believe, 12. And he had a brother that was 11. The other 2, I don't know. But they're there all by themselves. And they do what everybody else does. They get up. When the sun comes up, they dig through piles of garbage to find recyclables that they can sell. And if they're lucky, they may get a couple bucks a week to be able to buy some of the things that they need. That's Carlos and his boys. So it's heartbreaking to go, but it's so encouraging to see the work that's being done there. There is a classroom, tiny little classroom, and they're teaching some of the kids to read and to write, and most of them can't. The parents, they can't. And you can't advance without those things. And some showers now got built. There's 2 showers now, and the men have taught the boys how to shower. They don't know how to shower. They don't know how to brush their teeth. They don't know how to wash. And so they've taught, when they come to school, they'll get a little shower, and they get fed. And then I think we shared with you last year that there's now a center where they can learn some computer stuff. But it's really interesting because you're thinking, oh, they're learning ASDF, JK-Cell Semi, they're learning all this stuff. No, they're learning, this is a keyboard. It has letters on it. Letters that you'll learn if you go to school. This is a keyboard. That's what they're learning, not formulas and hit the F4 button and it'll do this. They're learning this is a keyboard. This is a monitor. This is where stuff's going to come up and you'll be able to see it. That's what they're learning. Eventually they'll be able to learn more, but they have the computer room. They have a sewing room. I'm not sure if we have a picture of the sewing room. I think they have 3 sewing machines, I believe. And right now there's piles of bags in there because they've been donated some cloth and some clothing, but they don't have a teacher. So you can pray that they find someone to teach the women how to sew, or the men, or whoever wants to learn how to sew, so that they can get a craft, get a trade, to be able to go into the city to get a job. They also have a woodworking or carpentry center, pardon me, with tools in there. So they're great tools and stuff, but they don't have any instructors. So be praying that Arc de Noé get some instructors to be able to teach the sewing and the carpentry and the computer skills. So pray for that. Every time we go, my heart just is blessed as we go into the villages. I was really sad that we missed a day. That was really sad for me, because that's the time that we get to go into the village mostly. The picture, there's a gentleman. We're all standing in kind of a semicircle outside of a church, and Johnny is there, and it was really fun. Especially, it was really fun when we found out we could call him Johnny, because we have a Jonathan and a Jonathan and a Juan, so it was fun to have somebody named Johnny. So everybody's name, yeah, it's very helpful. And he did. That's the first time anybody had met him. He was just dumped off in this. He'd been there 3 months. He had no water. He had no electricity. He really didn't have anything in his home. I think he could get water twice a week, but he had to go get it because he doesn't have a line to go to the house anymore. And he's engaged, and he will be bringing his bride here. He has to get some water. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for what they do and how they do it. I know there were other things I wanted to share, and I'm absolutely pulling a blank. Does anybody have a question they want to ask, maybe real quick? I guess I have a little time. Oh, so I think that was probably in Antigua, and that's just how he carries his wares. He's selling them. Yeah, the hat salesman. This is Antigua, and it's the opposite. Yeah, there's a guy with a hat, and he's just selling. There's people everywhere in Antigua selling anything you could want, and it's really kind of funny because somebody's going to say, "Oh, my grandma made this," and you get all teary, and grandma taught me how to make this, and then you go down the street and my grandma made it's the same thing, but. Okay, I keep getting the high sign. You want me to? Oh. Okay, sorry. So that's what that is. We were there. The Pacaya is a volcano there that we climbed last year. Well, some of us climbed. Some of us rode a horse. But Pacaya was smoking, so that was kind of exciting. The volcano was active. That was kind of exciting. So I did a small group with ladies, and it's kind of fun because it was some of the ladies that I had a small group with last year too. And last year, one of the things that we did is they had a chance to share the things that were going on in their lives and what was happening. And one of the things that we did was very physical. I said, okay, we've got all these burdens on our back, and we're going to get rid of them. And so I said, after they shared, they had to stand up, and they had to take the burden that was on their back, and they had to lay it at the feet of Jesus in the middle of our circle, and they'd come up and they'd lay it at the feet of the cross, the foot of the cross. and then we sang this song, I'm Free. And so this year we had our little group, and some of the gals remember that, and they told me they've left those things that they brought last year, they've left them at the foot. One of our gals, she said she didn't have any real big thing to share except thank you that I can come here and I can rest, and I don't have to worry about what I have to do, who needs what, just that I can come here and I can rest in the Lord. And then another gal just is crying and I'm so burdened and I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. And this is such a blessing to me to have you here, to pray for me, to lift me up, to help me to be bold, help me to have some direction and some idea that I am not alone. And so a couple of the ladies were like that. When we left, I was so excited. We had one gal up. So there was a rumor going around in our team. Did you hear I thought I heard somebody was pregnant, but nobody could verify that somebody was pregnant. It was all like, we just kept hearing, oh, somebody's pregnant. And then when we were leaving, I was hugging on somebody's neck, and she pulled back and she said, I'm pregnant. So we're so excited that we've got another baby coming in July. We do have a baby coming in the next, probably within moments, we have another baby coming. And so you can pray for her because she's this big. And you'd look at her and you would think she maybe was just pregnant. And she's 9 months pregnant. I mean, she's teeny tiny. She's a very small, petite little gal. And I was very glad to hear that she was still pregnant because when we were there last year, there were some complications. And so you can pray for Nancy as she's ready to deliver her first baby. And hopefully they can get to a hospital. They live way up high. I think I talked about her last year that she had to take 2 5-gallon buckets and walk a half hour to go get her water. I don't think they have to do that anymore. I think, okay. Yeah, I think they have water now. So that's exciting that they have water. But I guess I would just ask that you would continue to pray for this beautiful group of people. They're amazing. They're resilient. They love God with all of their being, and they demonstrate it to us, to each other. It's so fun. Like Tom said, it's so fun that when we got there, we're in a hotel, and it was so funny because I was complaining that there was no hot water and that there was water pressure was like this, and there was a day I said I need a curling iron because I can't wash my hair, that was that kind of stuff. And then to hear one of our pastors say, I got to be in a hotel. What a selfish booger I am, and so when we got to this hotel where we did the retreat, it's a different one than we did last year. We were in a different location. And I was coming from my room and I was walking into their little dining area, breakfast area. And there was half a dozen or more of the pastors and wives and stuff. And they were just chit-chatting, and they were just having the best time, and they were enjoying themselves so much. Completely different from the first couple times we were there. Everybody's kind of quiet and standoffish, but they're so excited now to see one another. They're so excited to see us. They know that we really care and that we want to be there and we want to support them. And so that's humongous. I also received a 10-year shirt. Guatemala sizes are different than American sizes. Mine does not fit. So I have a 10-year shirt and a hat too. I think we have a picture. Yes, ma'am.
So this is a side note. So when you're teaching the small group, is your Spanish good enough now so that you
I have an interpreter. Rita interpreted in my small group, but there are times where I can talk and communicate, and everybody's so proud. I'm so proud. Everybody's saying my Spanish was getting really good and then my accent was great. So that was really fun to have them say that. But yes, we use interpreters. A lot of the things, just the little things I can talk to them about or whatever, or I'd say it and look at Rita and say, did I say it right? And yeah. So.
What does it look like for you guys when you're like feeding the kids at the dump and you maybe don't know what to say, like the little girl with the heart? So what does it look like when you go? And I know you know some Spanish.
Yeah, the thing that communicates the most is our actions and our face and our smiles. Fortunately, I do know enough to communicate with the kids, and so when we were in the dump and we were giving out stickers and stuff, I could talk to them. I could ask them what their name was. I can ask them, which animal they wanted. I could do remedial conversations with the kids, and a lot of them are very reluctant to talk to you. They'll, they look and they smile and their voices are like this big and it's like, what'd you say? What'd you say? But we also always have interpreters with us everywhere we go. So if something needs to be communicated, Fernando is an amazing interpreter. And when Tom first started going, Fernando didn't speak any English. And now he can interpret for anybody. He's just, he's absolutely amazing. I was waiting to see if I saw him. And so here, that's just me handing out stickers. This little gal, she hugged me 800 million times. So that just made my whole day. That was amazing to spend time with her. I don't know her name. One of the pictures, there's a picture of Beth with the phone and maybe a gaggle of little boys. And what she was doing was showing them a picture that she had taken of them last year. And they were so excited to see the picture of themselves. So that was really fun. This is one of our new babies. She was pregnant when we left. And this next picture, I think, is the one. Yeah, that's Jonathan, or Johnny, standing there next to me. And when we stopped at his place, not even John and Rita, the missionaries that live in Guatemala City, had an opportunity to meet him yet. And so he just jumped in with both feet and was ready to be a part. This is the school that Fernando, that last picture was the school that Fernando is continuing to build. They now have a second story, but they have to find a new director because the director is got married to one of the pastors here last month, got married, and they're both leaving the section and going to a different section. So this is really fun because they don't play. When they're in their villages and they're in their homes and they're in their churches, they don't really have opportunity to play. So just letting them play some games, and like Tom talked about the soccer, I've never seen any of those guys in shorts before. That was amazing. Just a chance to play a silly card game. One of our gals from Sean's church brought nail polish, and she did nails for the women, and there was a puzzle that was being built, and they're just enjoying themselves. And it's something that they really don't get to do very much. That's Fernando interpreting for Sean. He's amazing. He's an amazing interpreter. That last couple was a brand new couple. They'd never been before, and it was really, really nice to get to know them a little bit. They were in our smaller group marriage circle, and they had some good questions and some good input as well, so that was really fun. Any other questions or comments or anything else you want to know from us? We thank you so very much for allowing us to do this, for being part of this in our lives. It is indeed a life-changing thing to be able to go to another country and to learn about that country and to learn and to meet the people, and most of all to share Jesus and share the love of Jesus because it's life-changing, not only for them but for you as well. So, and that's a frog. I'm sorry, I thought it was pretty funny. This little gal, that was Maffer, that was with Nora, our granddaughter. She's the one, she has no electricity. Well, she has some electricity. She has like a bulb, no water. They have built a second story. When we were there last year, we got there at night because we were late and stuff. And so, but she knew we were going to meet her at this particular on this particular day in the evening, and so she was there. She was just there waiting for us. And she currently can't live in the house that is with the church. So she lives in Jalapa, which is an hour and change away. But she had driven all the way up there to meet us at night. And when we walked up, we went into the church. We've been there before. And we walked into what will be her home, which is about this big and a couple rooms. And my brain said, it's been nearly a year. Why hasn't anything been done? I was just flabbergasted. And John said, well, the money was there. Why hasn't anything been done? And we walked outside and it was dark and we looked up and she's got a second story going on up there. So they were doing work. It was just, we didn't see it when we walked up because it was dark. We couldn't see anything. But she has actually 2 bedrooms and some baths up there and drywall. Nobody has drywall. Nobody has drywall. And they put drywall up there. Now, I'm not quite sure drywall is going to make it in the climate, but she has drywall. But right now she just has a ladder. I mean, she's not living up there. It's not livable yet. And there's just a ladder, and I would not climb up it. But so I didn't get to peek. Did you? You climbed up it and peeked. You didn't climb up it either. Not a real sturdy ladder. But that was her, and her countenance is just incredible, and she's just ready to serve the Lord in a very difficult area. It was hard just to get to her place. It's just I really need to go visit a chiropractor because the roads are incredibly bumpy and curvy and bouncy, and your head's going like this, and it's difficult. To travel. I think the distance between Guatemala City and Cerro Alto might be 50 miles-ish, and it takes us like 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get to it because of the mountains and the roads and what have you. Although some of the roads are paved, which is really fun. They've got some of the roads paved, so that's really exciting. Anything else you want to share, Pastor, sir? Any more questions? All right. Thank you for listening to me ramble.
Let me just wrap up here real quick. Just watching a couple of pictures. One young man we met last year, his first time we were there in April. Name is Elvis. He got married this year. Her name is Darlin. Elvis and Darlin. That means nothing in Spanish, Guatemala. It's just kind of cute to us. And then Johnny, the young man can eat. I mean, he can eat. And so we're talking, and he rides a motorcycle, moto, and he said, Tom, you have moto? I said, I did until Sean was 1 year old, and then it just wasn't practical. It's kind of dangerous, and I said, where we live, you can only ride a motorcycle about half of the year. He kind of understood, yeah, maybe snow and motorcycle wouldn't mix. And then I said, and, you can't take your kids on a motorcycle. And he looked at me like, you're from a communist country, aren't you? You can't put your children, you can't put your family on a motorcycle? He absolutely flat didn't understand it. Because they put their whole family on a moto and furniture and whatever else they gotta, because you gotta, and he's like, how do you get your family somewhere if you, cultural differences. When I started going 8 years ago, it was like my heart for missions, and I wanted to help some pastors, and maybe there's something I can share with pastors in Guatemala. Today, we're just visiting friends. I mean, we are just visiting friends. And how you guys doing? And how's this thing going? How's that How's that demon dude with a machete? How are you doing with him? How are you doing with your add-on on your building? Really, what struck me on this trip, Proverbs 17:22. Meant to mention that earlier. I don't think I did. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit is like dry bones. And in the middle of our time together with them, I just realized as they are laughing and just having a great, great time, sure enough, a joyful spirit is like good medicine. People need to be encouraged, right? People need to be encouraged to keep doing what they're doing. And again, 1 Thessalonians 5:11, encourage one another, build up one another. Let me close with this. How might we encourage those around us that are fighting the good fight? How might we come alongside others and just encourage them? If you know me, my superpower is making people giggle. I just that comes easy to me. But in a setting with these precious people that are doing amazing work in a super hard place, what a delight just to see some joy well up in them. Like Donna said, they don't get to play youth games and stuff in their villages. United States, pretty hard place to do ministry as well, isn't it? The devil is alive and well in Guatemala, in the United States of America. The devil wears a different costume in the U.S. than he does in Central America, but he is still out to take down the church, to discourage, to dismantle those who are trying to promote the gospel. What might we do to encourage those around us that are doing a good work but in a hard place and are just discouraged? A joyful heart is like good medicine. Let's take good medicine to everybody we know. Amen? And be that encourager that God's called us to be. Would you pray with me? And we'll close. Father, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to just spend a little time with our friends in Guatemala. Father, thank you for the work that they are doing. Thank you for the gospel that they are, your gospel, that they are taking to their world. And Father, what a delight to be a part of being able to encourage them. Lord, we pray for them this morning as they are back into their daily grind. They are back to caring for the needs of people in their village, in their area. They're back to trusting you for their sustenance. Father, thank you for each one of them. Father, we pray for the people that we know right now, the people that are coming to our mind, that need to be encouraged, that need to have their arms lifted up, that need to receive an attaboy, that need to receive a, hey, I'm proud of you, I'm thinking of you, how you doing? Father, might we not just soak up the encouragement of others, but might we take it and pass it along. God, give us wisdom, give us grace, to be the encouragers that you've called us to be. Lord, we know the devil and this world hate the truth of the gospel. God, we are committed to taking it to everybody we come in contact with. Lord, thank you. Thank you for our time together this morning. Again, Father, thank you for a warm place to meet in out of the cold. Lord, you're good to us. You are so, so good to us. And for that, we give you thanks. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen.